It's on vinyl and vision.
Hello folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 67. We are just banging through these this year. Today's very special guest is Alice Genese. Alice is a wonderful person. It's actually really an honor and pleasure for me to get to know her a little bit better and to speak with her today on the show about a number of things, including her a little bit of her musical history, what she's currently working on, this band of Stars, which what you're currently listening to is the self-titled track of Stars off of their new 5-song EP release entitled Tuesdays. At the end of the show, we're going to be playing another portion of the other single off of that album, Dear Eyes. Now, Alice was great. I gotta say that we just hit it off immediately. I really enjoyed the conversation, and we had a great time, I think. And I think that that's evident, and I hope you enjoy it too. Of course, the record that we talked about this evening is David Bowie's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, which... what a great record. I mean, it's evergreen, it's ever present in my life. I've known it for a long time, and so has Alice, and it was a great opportunity to get to know her through that record, and talking about it is one I've wanted to cover for a very long time. So, not to get off topic, of course, about Alice, I want to speak all about her, of course, and I want you to listen to the show and find out more about her. But there are a few things happening. First of all, April 23rd is coming right up. It's this weekend coming, a few days away. That is Record Store Day, folks. Now, Alice has her album coming out on that same day. It is not a official Record Store Day release, unfortunately. But Ben Vaughn, the last guest from our last episode, does have an album coming out on Record Store Day, exclusively, The World of Ben Vaughn. So I encourage you, reminding you folks, please go out there and go find it. I will be out there in the trenches finding it myself. Let's not forget this, April 24th, the next day, Alice will be performing in Asbury Park, New Jersey. We talk about this in the show as far as the details are concerned, but it's going to be an acoustic set. Basically an introduction to Of Stars. They'll probably be playing the 5 songs that they're releasing, as well as playing a couple of solo acoustic sets, Alice herself, and then her partner Pony, who is part of the band, will also be playing a set. So if you can do that, links will be provided. The next weekend, April 30th, I am going to be participating as a vendor, selling my records at the Burlesque and Roll show at the Dusk in Providence. Awesome all day long show. Tons of bands, tons of burlesque dancers. It's going to be insane. The last one on Halloween was amazing, so we hope that this one will be just as good, if not even better. So if you can make that, we'd really appreciate it. Also, here at Violent Vision, we ask that you please do all the things you do with the internet for this show. Please do the liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, rating, reviewing, and anything else that ends in ing that you can think of. We would appreciate it very much, and enjoy. Thank you. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing okay?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good. Thanks for coming and doing this.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's awesome to be here. Slightly terrifying, but also pretty great.
Slightly terrifying? Why would you be so terrified?
I don't know. I'm always afraid of interviews.
Oh, okay. Well, I promise to be gentle. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The premise of this is to discuss a record that's important to you. And you chose David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
I did.
Yeah, see, so I'm just throwing that out there now only because it's possible that this could get a little deep.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of the content of the music. I mean, like obviously you like this music. I love this. I've kind of grown up with this album as well, so I'm very familiar with it. And it's a kind of a heavy record, you know.
It is. Yeah. It's pretty it's a to me I feel like it's a really emotional record, and I feel like it's an incredible journey, and I know it's supposed to be about one thing, but it makes me wonder about uh all of the things that Bowie might have been going through in his life to be able to write that kind of music.
Right.
And I feel like it's stuff that I tap into as, I mean, not that I'm a genius in that way, but I understand the emotions that are I feel I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
If
Sure,
that
sure.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, yeah, and we'll get into it. I mean, I've done a bunch of research. I've done the best that I can to kind of like figure out more about the history and kind of where Bowie was at this time in his career and so forth, and I read into things too, and I kind of play with it a little bit. You'll see what I mean.
Ah, you're about 10 steps ahead of me because I have not done a whole lot of research, but
That's okay.
I've listened a lot, recently. So.
Yeah. No, don't worry. You don't have to do anything. Like you just showing up and like being a fan is all you really need to do.
Okay, right on.
So, you know, I'm happy to have you on, and I'm happy to discuss with you the latest project that you're working on, of Stars, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Upstairs started as as just a writing challenge, like a little writing project in my living room with a friend that I met through my brother. We've become very close over the years. Honestly, I just needed to, psychic TV was slowing down because Genesis had a diagnosis of leukemia. Um, so we weren't really writing as much, and I need to create music. It brings me, I want to say it brings me joy and happiness, but it helps me to stay stable as a human being.
Sure.
Something that I really need to do. And I feel like if I'm, because of the things that were happening in my life and had happened in the last, 5 to 10 years, I tend to write sad music. And I was hoping that writing with a partner would help. And now I think we still write some sad music, but not always. At
Yeah,
least we can
yeah,
be sad together.
yeah. Well, I've heard the two songs that have been released so far. Um, what is it? The self-titled "Of Stars" song,
Yeah.
correct? And
Yep.
then
And
"Dear Eyes."
correct. Yeah,
Sure. And so you're releasing an EP, correct? It's only going to be 5 songs,
it is. Yeah.
and that goes by the name of Tuesdays.
Yes, because we meet on Tuesdays to write. And it just felt like, I sort of feel like this is an intimate glimpse into the world that we've been living in, especially, over the last few years during the pandemic, especially, the fact that Pony and I could get together every Tuesday to write or even just to chat was really important,
Hmm.
because, everybody had to socially distance
Distance.
and isolate themselves. And I don't mind being alone. I can be very introverted. But what I realized, it's so funny because I'm like, I love spending time by myself. After 2 weeks of spending time completely alone, I was like, yeah, I actually really like to go out once in a while.
Oh yeah.
So, like, 5 days off and 2 days on would work for me. Sorry, we were just rehearsing earlier, so I've been singing and my voice is a little shot, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, you have a few things coming up. I mean, so the record itself is coming out on the 23rd, correct?
yep, that is correct.
April
The 23rd.
23rd. And then you have a
Yeah,
show on the 24th, is it?
yes.
Cool.
Just, we're just doing that. We're doing an acoustic version. So basically it's Tony and I, neither of us are guitar players. I feel like I'm a terrible guitar player. I'm a bass player. And I love playing bass. And
Right.
Tony plays piano and loves playing piano. And he's great at it. And we've been writing on guitars for some weird reason. So we're gonna play like we write in the living room on the 24th.
Oh,
so
cool.
we're just gonna play that way. Yeah, so it'll be a real intimate glimpse of what we do in our process.
Right.
We haven't gotten together to play or even write since we finished the recording. I mean, we get together every week, but now it's like doing more business than album packaging and doing photo shoots and doing some press and the stuff that you have to do to support the music. Which when I was in Psychic TV, there were other people doing a lot of that. And so yeah.
Now you're kind of the leader, right?
I mean, we're together pretty much as partners, Tony and I. I mean, not together like partners in that way, but not romantically. But yeah, we're very much a team in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 50-50. You're both making decisions together and all that stuff.
Yeah, we literally write words together. And I think sometimes the lyrics are strange because they're coming from two different people. And I do think it works.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a line and then he'll come up with a line that follows. And I'm on one song, I can't remember which one it was. We did cut-ups, which was funny. Just wrote a bunch of words and we cut everything up and threw them on the table and picked things out, and which is that's a process David Bowie has used, and I know it's a process that Genesis and Psychic TV has used in the past too. So it's just fun to do that as a sort of as an exercise, sort of let's see where this would go if we just let go of that control, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's very much a kind of let the chips fall where they may type thing, and it's kind of it can be inspiring to have some kind of outside force kind of giving you what to work with, and then you just do your best to kind of work that into the music somehow, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So you were saying how you have to make decisions for like packaging and stuff like that now. For the record that's coming out, it's going to be available in a vinyl format, right?
It is, as everybody is well aware in this industry, vinyl is very, very backed up.
Yeah.
We did order our vinyl back in November after our masters were completed. We don't know yet when it's expected to come out. We were hoping sometime in September. And we'll do a pre-sale, but
right.
I don't even have any images to put out the packaging yet. I mean, if the packaging is fully done, obviously, but we need to get all of that from the record plant so that
have you gotten test pressings yet?
Haven't even gotten a test pressing yet.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's way backed up.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I'm like, well, maybe it's going to be 2023, but whatever. It is what it is. I have other things to worry about that are more important than,
Right.
The vinyl will come out when it comes out.
Yeah, and I think that people will be understanding and be patient. Like, I know there's this one band I just ordered their record, and they have no idea when it's coming. Like, it's very possible that it will come in 2023. But I've already ordered it. I give them my money, so it'll show up when it shows up, and that's fine.
That's great.
I get the digital download for the meantime, like off Bandcamp, so I can listen to the music. But yeah, as far as like the physical format, it's going to be, it'll be what it'll be. I think people will be understanding. It's fine.
Yeah, I hope so.
But so what about the packaging? Is there anything special about the way that it's going to be presented, or?
Well, we did this weird like fold up kind of thing. So it's a really but it's not quite a gatefold. It only goes like part of the way up. On the other side, and we have a really good friend, photographer Sarah Stettmiller. So she works with the 4x6 format, like old-fashioned cameras with film. So she took these very like I think striking images of us. We live close to the ocean, so we went near the ocean. It was sort of a cloudy day, so it's very moody.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's very artistically, if I might use that. I don't know, that's a weird word to use, but I mean, I think it's beautiful. It's all black and white, and the album itself will be translucent. The vinyl will be translucent red, so there'll be some color, but not in the packaging itself. So.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a nice feature to have when you're pressing vinyl, is to have it be something kind of colorful.
Yeah, we get to do a lyric sheet and all of that, because I love, I have my vinyl lyrics. I love being able to read people's lyrics, because how often do you hear a lyric and you're completely off off base with it. I do it all the time.
Right. Well, and it's part of the process now. I mean, like, so I take it you're a vinyl music fan.
I mean, I always have been. I don't have very much vinyl anymore, and I sort of there's a part of me that doesn't want to buy more, but Psychic TV released most of our music on vinyl. And I've never gotten rid of my turntable in all of the years that I've had it. Yeah, I do. I like it. I love the way vinyl sounds. I love the warmth, and I don't mind the crackles and the pops, and I like it.
And it's also that process where you take out that sleeve or that insert, that whatever has the lyrics on it or whatever artwork, and you sit with it and you kind of digest all of it at once.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a younger woman, a girl or a teenager, and just holding the packaging and flipping it over, and you're just sort of you're eating it all up, right? You're digesting all of it. There's so much material, and the fact that you have like this 12 by 12 square of art, I think it's incredible. I mean, my albums look like crap. I did, obviously I'm not known how to take care of my had cats and animals that scratched on them, and a lot of them are really old, and I don't buy a lot of music anymore. And I've been listening to, I buy friends' music, obviously, and I buy things that I download, but we've become that world, right? Like, I like to be able to listen to music in my car, and I like to be able to listen to music when I'm a jeweler also. So I work in a studio, and you can't carry a turntable, so it's just sort of become easier to listen to music that way.
Right. Yeah. There's certain little practical applications, and that's totally fine. But when you're at home and you want to kind of take some time, it's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And not many people do that anyway, because who has the time?
I mean, I every now and again I just make that time because I want it. I just want to do it.
You should.
Like, I'll spend, I don't know, I'm like, I'm gonna carve out 3 hours today. I'm gonna listen to these 3 or 4 records, and I sometimes I think, I'm gonna read a book when I'm doing it, but I can't focus on both. So it's sort of like one has to become background, so it doesn't always work, but I can sketch stuff out when I do that, and I like that.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of being a kid and growing up with music, I mean, where did you grow up in New York?
I grew up in Hoboken, which is, I don't
Jersey.
know Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. I grew up across the river from Manhattan, like literally between the Holland and the Lincoln tunnels. So I was in New York City a lot. When we would, I'm not going to say this, my mom might listen. I'm very old now, but she would still probably get mad. But like, if we were to skip school, we would be in the West Village. Like that was our skipping school, right? Like, we had the PATH train right in our backyard, and we had a bus to Manhattan on the street that I grew up in, so it was really easy to just go and hang out in the city all the time, and I feel really lucky about that. I was born in the early 60s, so I got to see a lot of like really cool music happening in Manhattan.
Oh yeah, I bet.
At that time, like, which inspired me to play, actually. Like, everything's just sort of, I would see this band called the Bush Tetras. There was a band called ESG that I thought were incredible. And seeing them play, I felt like, I want to play bass too. Like, I just sort of, I knew I was something. I wasn't, I was still sort of forming as a human, I think, even in my 20s. no, late teens, early 20s. I said probably started playing bass around 20. Um,
Oh, okay.
but I played, other instruments. It wasn't like I was new to music completely.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you start off with?
uh, Probably the first instrument I learned to play terribly was piano.
Okay.
And then I wasn't really into like being a classically, like I just wanted to play stuff and write stuff and not, I always wrote songs in my head. So
Hmm.
uh and then my mom started taking guitar classes at like a night school program where her sister used to live in the suburbs of New Jersey. So I would take the ride with her and I would sit in the back of this class and I would just watch what everyone was doing, and I would go home and I would do it myself.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how I learned to play guitar. And but I still, I was never a good guitar player either. I can write on guitar, but the bass is really where I found my voice.
Hmm.
That
Okay.
really, maybe because I had taken a lot of dance and like seriously studied dance, like where you go and you dance and take classes for 3 or 4 hours, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think because it was so rhythmic and I already understood like the rhythm in my body, it
Sure.
was what I connected with most. And it just made sense for me.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, that does make sense actually. I'm a bass player too, so
Oh, yeah.
you're in good company. I can
Awesome.
understand your love for it. I mean, I don't. I guess I couldn't probably describe why I like the bass and why I've. I mean, I played it because my brother basically taught me how to play it. You know, because
Oh,
he wanted to start a band. He was just like, well, you need to be the bass player because I play guitar and he's going to play drums and he's going to sing, so you're going to play bass.
oh, right
So
on. That's great.
yeah, so it just kind of stuck and I love it. You know.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, I really love it. It's my happy place.
I bet, I bet. And so,
Yeah.
like, when you were a kid growing up, I mean, prior to skipping school and escaping off into the city, what were you listening to in the house? What was that like, music in the house?
I, I was listening to the music that my parents were listening to. So, there was like, God, my mom was liking Joan Baez, and my dad was listening to like Bob Dylan. There was Jim Croce, and then, but also like my dad worked at a camp for like Hoboken kids as like a camp director, and we would have all these dance parties. So uh, like I grew up listening to a lot of Motown music
Oh,
there, and we would have these like camp dances, and uh, yeah, I feel like that was really my early the music I listened to most in my early years. And then as I got into high school, I started obviously listening to more rock kind of stuff, and
sure.
Zeppelin and Hendrix and all of that was sort of around. And then, there was a club in Hoboken called Maxwell's. And I lived about a block and a half away, and Maxwell's got every touring band out there.
Yeah.
So, like Soundgarden and Nirvana and like Replacements and Sonic Youth. Well, Sonic Youth, obviously, like we all lived in the
Right.
neighborhood also. But like, yeah, I saw a lot of bands, Mudhoney, Screaming Trees. I saw like I can't even honestly, I can't even tell you. I
Sure.
saw
There's plenty.
X at Maxwell's. I saw uh The Fall. I mean, just like and that was really what made it easier for me, because I felt like at that place in my life, I was like, oh, they can all do it, and I can do it, and it just sort of became uh, it became more real for me.
Yeah.
When you see that you can when you can be in a room that size, right? It's not like you're going to see like
Some
a
stadium
huge
gig.
band yeah, like my friends would all go. I wasn't allowed to go to the Garden when I was young, but my friends would all go see like Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin or whoever. Like I wasn't, my parents weren't allowing me to go. It was a 15-minute train ride. I could have snuck out, but
Right.
I wasn't going to get home in time and I would have been in trouble. So I just
Sure.
wasn't going to deal with that. Um,
Well,
but
you get a good learning experience from Maxwell's anyway. I mean that
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is that like we have this intimate setting, right? So the
right.
room holds maybe 200 people. And
Yeah.
these shows were amazing.
Right,
Like,
and they're more intense, and they're more kind of like being so intimate. So like,
yeah,
I mean, I've spoken with a bunch of people now, especially older people that have been around when like a lot of that really great influential stuff in the 70s and 80s was coming around. Some of the punk scene obviously is forming, and that stuff was I can only imagine was like monumental, like to
yeah,
a young person watching it,
yeah,
participating.
yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I remember REM. I think it was one of the first times they were at Maxwell's, and I was standing on the stoop at my mom's house, and they're like, "Hey, do you know how to get to Maxwell's?" And I just laughed because they were literally a block away, and they were heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's a block away." And then I went out that night and I saw them, and then they were sort of teasing me all night about it. Like, I guess one of them must have remembered. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just sort of a funny thing, but yeah.
That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
so tell me about, speaking of like the big '70s rock explosion. Tell me about, your introduction to Bowie.
I don't know if at first I saw him on TV when I was
Okay.
young, and I cannot remember exactly what it was that
Sure.
um, drew me to him. Um, it might have been visual, and it definitely was, an oral thing. But yeah, the earlier Bowie, I was a super fan.
Yeah.
Um,
So you don't remember what the first thing was that you heard, maybe?
I really don't. It's kind of funny. Like I can't remember.
All right.
I don't know what it was.
Okay. Well, how about this? How about this record? Like, what was your experience with this record?
I think this record, I think I attached myself to this record later on. I think,
Okay.
obviously Suffragette City is an amazing song. So, earlier on I would have attached myself to that. But a song like 5 Years, I think I had to grow up a little bit more
Oh yeah.
to to understand it. And now it's one of my favorite Bowie
Mm-hmm.
songs. Like honestly, it almost every time it makes me want to cry.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
just it does something to me. There's
Well, I
I feel
imagine
like there's
as you got
go ahead.
older and like you kind of like started to become more of a sophisticated adult, I can
Yeah,
imagine how that song has kind of transformed in your mind and kind of like become more expansive because it is a pretty big song. I
yeah.
mean, to I guess we'll go ahead and get into it now. But I mean,
Oh,
that
sorry.
song. No, 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 it's okay. It's okay. That song specifically is, from what I found out in the research, is essentially if you want to put the album into the context of being a thematic record, because supposedly that's kind of what it is, which wasn't really the case. Bowie did not kind of create all of these songs with a theme in mind. He just kind
Mm,
of put them all together and was just like, after creating this character of Ziggy that he could perform through, he kind of
right.
like figured out the sequence of these songs and was just like, oh, this can kind of be a theme record if we just kind of put these in this order. And so 5 years is essentially the well, I don't know who it is that's speaking. I don't, because it's not Ziggy, but it's essentially someone that they have announced that the Earth is going to end in 5 years.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's a pretty heavy concept for anybody to kind of try to tackle.
Yeah. And then how do you live those 5 years? Like what?
Well,
And
exactly.
and,
I
then,
mean,
and the fact that he's screaming at the end, like that's the part where I just felt like I start to melt. Like it's
oh yeah,
like,
it's very
but
powerful.
when I hear that, like you have to live that, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's not fake. That's not like I'm performing this for a song. That's like I, I actually like it does remind me of John Lennon's mother, and I know he was doing primal scream therapy at that point
Oh yeah.
when he was recording that piece of music. And when I listen to it, it is reminiscent in that way where he is just screaming. And I do feel like you have to get to a certain place in your life where I'm too afraid. I would be too afraid to go there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it would take a lot for me to be able to like
Scream
get,
like that.
yeah, to go that
Yeah.
deep.
Well, I can relate because as you can maybe tell, I'm a soft-spoken person. I
Yeah.
don't like to raise my voice no matter what. So, like, even being at a show, I was at a show on Monday night, and like everyone else is like doing the hooting and hollering thing, after every song. I'm just like, I just clap. It's very
Yeah,
good. I love it,
I get
but
it.
I just don't like to. I don't like that. I just don't like to be loud.
Yeah.
But it's super powerful. I mean, the way that Bowie does it, and like much like John Lennon, it's incredibly powerful and moving to hear. Have it being executed like that, and I mean, sometimes I wish I could do that as far as performing is concerned, but yeah, I don't. I'm a little meek too, so.
Yeah. My bass yells really loud.
There you go. Yeah, you can do it with other things, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, considering we're kind of like already talking about the record, maybe we'll just go ahead and get into the record now, and then
Okay.
we'll go back to speaking about Of Stars and your new record that's coming
Yeah,
out.
sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
That's quite all right. This is
I mean, we
very
were talking about it, so all
very free here. We can do whatever we want.
right on.
So 5 years. We just talked about that one, and actually, the question that I had for you, you kind of actually already brought up, is just like if you were told that the Earth was going to end in 5 years, what would you do with those 5 years? What do you think you would end up doing with yourself?
I'd probably write more music, and then I guess I would go to places that I've never been to that
Hmm.
I'd want to go to again. Like,
Yeah.
never been to Machu Picchu, I'd probably go there.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd probably go to Egypt and see the pyramids. I mean,
Maybe you
that's,
find maybe you find some
yeah,
answers in those places that you go to.
yeah, perhaps so. I mean, I'm also, I'm not really afraid of, I can say this because I'm not faced with any sort of terminal illness. But
Hmm.
at this point, I don't feel afraid
Yeah.
of it. I've pretty much done all of the things I've wanted to do in my life. I mean, I want to do more.
Sure.
Not saying anything,
Yeah.
but I'm living a life that I want to live. So
Hmm.
if I had 5 more years, those are the things I would do. I'd probably travel more, and I would see all my friends that I live in other countries, hang out with them for a while.
Right. Yeah. That sounds great. So I mean, is it just me, or does it seem like that's kind of a reality these days? It
Uh,
seems like that, like, like it could end in 5 years from now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem that outlandish. Like I was obviously with the current status of the world and horrible wars happening, and I'm going to use the word genocide because that's what I'm feel like I'm looking at
Hmm.
in the Ukraine. But in Ukraine, and I visited both of those countries, and it sort of breaks my heart to
Yeah.
watch this and to know that I'm pretty much helpless to stop anything. Um,
Yeah.
there's
I
nothing.
mean, there's a lot of situations that are like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard
it's
to
everywhere.
think about. It's hard to think about those things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm bringing up one situation because it could end in a nuclear war. For all we know. I mean, not to get so dark, but like,
I told you we're gonna go there. This
well,
record
here
this
we
record
are.
brings it out.
We went right there. Um, but yeah, I just, I don't, I don't need to hang out after that. Like, I don't need to go into a shelter. I'm just gonna sit on the porch and have a glass of wine with some friends and
Yeah, and
be all
watch it
right.
all come down, man.
Yeah, maybe it'll be beautiful.
Actually, that's the one thing that's the thing. I think maybe the one thing that would bring me some comfort was that at least I know we would all go together.
Yeah,
Because like the fear of death thing is kind of like it's kind of like mortifying only because I don't know when it's going to happen and I don't know who is going to be going first. Like if I think about my wife, I'm like, one of us is going to go first, and it could possibly suck for me if you go. But if I go and then it sucks for you, and then I feel bad that you have to live without me, unless of course that makes her happy. I don't know, but you know, family and
Got
stuff
it.
like that. I think about my brothers all the time. I'm like, oh man, like, do I have to lose any of them? This sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think, I know that death is harder for the living because I've lost enough. I've lost a child. So that's
Hmm.
enough to know that, you know, it's hard for the living to deal
Yeah.
with stuff like that.
Right. Grief.
That
Grief is hard.
complicated grief is, you know, it's pretty intense. And at my age, I've lost, you know, several friends and bandmates. So
Right.
and bandmates to me, like my band, they're people I feel like I've been married to.
Oh yeah.
um,
Of
you know,
course.
you travel and you play music and you intimately connect, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's an invisible thread that that connects me to the people that I'm making music
I think
with, like
that's completely true. Yeah.
emotionally, or you know, I don't even know what the word would be for that, but um yeah, some weird psychic place that you tap into that you all connect into somehow to make music like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, it really is. I mean, it certainly is a relationship, and
Yeah.
yeah, it can definitely be profound for people. So, speaking of profound relationships, we should move on to the next song, "Soul Love."
Well, I mean, immediately the first part of that is, you know, a woman losing her brave son. Like
Right.
I can barely listen to that song anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
just, it has such a real, like it's such a real meaning for me now.
Right.
And yeah, like musically, it's sort of a little bouncy, right?
It is.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, but when you read the lyrics, like, you know, she kneels before the grave, a brave son who gave his life. Like, you know,
Right.
like,
And I forget the words exactly, but he gave his life for the slogan,
yeah.
which
And
is
then all I have is my love of love, and love is not loving.
right.
That's like, what?
Yeah, I mean this. Okay, first of all, I should mention this. So in the research that I've found about Bowie, I've been a lifelong fan. I've loved him in this record for a very very long time, but I've never really read into his history. So did you know that he was fairly unsuccessful up to the point of this record?
I did.
Yeah. So he had already what four record? No, three
Five,
records
I
out.
think. I think this is the fifth studio album.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the one that finally broke him.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and all of those songs, like those records, they have such great music on them. And to think that he wasn't successful, like he was really bootstrapped up to the
Yeah.
point of this record, which was mind blowing to me when I was reading it. I was just like, really? Like I could have sworn he was like already a famous rock star by the time he made this one.
Yeah, I don't think I knew all of that until I did do a deep dive at one point. So
Yeah.
I did learn some more of that. And I think it was it Starman that like was the first big hit that he had?
Yes, I think
It
that was the
was.
one that
Okay.
kind of like really turned people's heads because they ended up performing that song for "On Top of the Pops" in
Oh,
England. So that
right.
was
I did
really,
read that somewhere.
yeah, that was really the turning point because that was the introduction to the world, to really the world stage. But so Soul Love. Before we get to Starman, you're right. This song is kind of more mellow. If you're trying to keep to the theme of the record of like this alien invader coming in and kind of like uh, being the rock and roll messiah thing, it kind of comes in as a mellow washing over of the trauma of realization that death is imminent. And so what I read is that there's actually like three kinds of loves that are described in this song. So like the first verse is like what you said, it was like this grieving mother. So that's like this paternal love. The second verse is like young teens in love, so it's a romantic kind of fun love. And then the third being more spiritual. You know, so of these three loves, I mean, which one brings you the most comfort?
Well, spiritual love, I would have to say straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Well,
feel like I think as you know, I'm in my 60s at this point, so I feel like I've had that young love, and yeah, I think spiritual is sort of where I'm at right now. Like that, the I think it's like that place that you can't see but exists, that and I think that also encompasses like a self-love sort of thing, which is a spiritual love in a
Sure.
weird way. It sounds very yogi, and I'm not.
To take care
But
of yourself and
yeah,
take care of your mind in a
yeah,
spiritual way, in a belief in something that is bigger than yourself, or in yeah, I think that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of the other kinds of that. Obviously, I'm not going to have young teenage love again. Certainly had that, but that's
Sure,
not.
sure.
That's not coming in my life at this point.
Hmm.
And it was great. Like I've loved having love.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of different kinds of love. It's been wonderful.
yeah.
But yeah, I do feel like that's where I would connect to right now.
Okay, sounds good. So next song is Moon Age Daydream. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's right. I forgot about that. It's just such that hard to come in. That just that single hit.
Oh, it's just a slap in the head,
Yeah, it
right?
really
Like,
is.
like, I love it. Yeah, it's incredible. And the chorus of that song, I think, is so incredibly catchy
Oh yeah.
as well. Like, all of it is. I mean, I think it's like, sorry, I think it's like, perfect in a lot of ways. Like there's catchy like riffs in that song. Like at the beginning, really grabs me like straight away though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is fair to say this is Bowie's most rock record.
It is, yeah. I
You
agree
know,
with you.
I mean, he really dug into the whole, underground New York rock scene, like the punk to a degree. I mean, it wasn't really punk in the '70s, but it was kind of coming up, and so there's a little bit of that feel. Obviously, major inspirations were the Velvet Underground, Iggy Pop.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, his friendship with Iggy Pop is like legendary, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, that happened just prior to this record. So Moon Age Daydream. So this song, from what I learned, that this song has actually been recorded by Bowie prior to Ziggy, with his former project, the Arnold Corns.
I did not know that.
Yeah, before Bowie met the guys that made up the Spiders from Mars, he was in this kind of short-lived, kind of glam project called the Arnold Corns, based on the name was based on Arnold Lane by Pink Floyd.
Okay. I did not
So
know this.
yeah, yeah. So he recorded this song and what are the song? Hang On to Yourself, I believe, was the other song that he recorded. And this was like in
Okay.
'71. This record came out in '73, so he re-recorded these in '72 with the Spiders from Mars. So is there any song on your new record that has been repurposed?
No, because Pony and I just started writing together um 4 years ago. And we decided to record, I guess in 2021, I decided that we should record. So yeah, nothing has been repurposed.
Okay, because it's all brand new.
We're still like a baby band. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we literally, I feel like I have this, decades long career, like 4 decades of being in multiple bands, and I feel like I'm starting over again. But I
Yeah,
like, I like it. I'm glad that I still get to do what I'm grateful that I'm still able to do this.
sure.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, and it's
I
good
mean,
too. It's good music. I mean, you know,
thank you.
decades of work. That's all stuff that's kind of led you up to this point. So even though Of Stars is a new band, a new project, however you want to call it, you still have all of your experience behind it, and it shows through in the music because it's good, like professional music. It's a great sound quality. I mean, there's definitely the hooks in there. There's it's more of a pop music first and foremost. I mean, like I don't know how you feel about like your audience. I mean, do they kind of gravitate more towards the Psychic TV thing, which is obviously a very avant-garde kind of industrial type of band, whereas like this is very different than that.
I mean, Psychic TV at the end, Genesis actually wanted Psychic TV to be to go more in a psychedelic direction. And Psychic TV also was very pop. I don't think that we were very, in the years that I was in the band, I don't feel like we were terribly industrial sounding. That was more of Throbbing Gristle's genre of music. And obviously I also wrote with Psychic TV. What's going on out there?
No idea. The world's ending.
Great. I'm gonna have a glass of wine. I don't know what the audience is gonna be. I just sort of jumped in like this. The music, when I write very honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think about it. I don't sit down and think I'm gonna write a pop song or I'm gonna write this song. I just sort of, let it come out. It's this weird.
It's a visit from the muse.
Yeah, I mean, I just sort of feel like something comes in through my head and out my stomach, and then that's what happens. And the words come when the words come. And sometimes I write a song completely from start to finish in my head before I even sit down, and then there are moments where I realize that I don't know how to play some of the chords. And I have to change it so that I can actually play it, because I only know like first position chords. I'm not good at playing bar chords, and it's when you're a bass player for so many years of your life, like I haven't had to learn that stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's a little limiting, but whatever, you'll pick it up as you keep on working on it. So you write primarily on guitar?
We do, yeah. Tony and I both, and neither of us are guitar players. It's a real challenge.
Well, you're pulling it off. You're doing great work.
Well, I didn't play guitar at all on the recording. That's all Jeff Berner, who was the guitar player of Psychic TV. And I wrote the bass parts also. He played the bass parts as well. It was just easier for him to be able to do it as overdubs, because he has a studio at his house as well. And we were in the midst of a pandemic when we were recording. So we were just trying to get it done and do it within a budget. Because the budget was my budget, which is not huge.
Right.
There's also that, right? I'm gonna play bass.
Sure. Well, I mean, whatever your budget was, I mean, you made do with it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I had amazing musicians and producers and engineers, and that's honestly, it's like a lot of the Psychic TV team that I've worked with for years. So it did feel very much like going home to me.
Right.
We recorded that. We recorded this EP in the same studio that I've recorded the last 2 Psychic TV pieces of music. So it was, it was like going home. It was harder for Pony because he's never been in a studio like this before. And to me, I was just like, I don't know. It literally was just like going, back to your parents' house or.
Yeah, comfortable, right? Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the next song, Starman.
I mean, what do you say about that? It's like a perfect song.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we already kind of got into it a little bit. This is this was the with their performance of this song, their rising single on Top of the Pops, Bowie solidified his place in rock history. So drummer Mick Woodmansey is quoted as saying, "It's the concept of hope that the song communicates. That, quote, we are not alone, and, quote, they contact the kids, not the adults, and kind of say, get on with it, quote, let the children boogie."
Right.
So is that what this song brings to you still? Is that kind of like what you take away from it?
I mean, yeah, this song actually feels hopeful in a weird way. Like if we're talking about the end of the world, and then what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 songs later or something, and then there's hope because there's a starman waiting in the sky.
Yeah. And I guess sticking with the theme, I mean that's correct that this is kind of like the moment where the coming of the Messiah is acknowledged. So it's like, I don't know who the speaker is, I don't know like what point of view that is, but they're essentially saying the Starman's gonna come, and this is the person that we're looking to save us from our demise. So it is kind of hopeful in a sense.
Yeah, and that's the spirit part of it, right? Like we're sort
Right.
of going back to that spirit. Like, is the Starman actually a Starman? Is he an alien? And what's an alien? Like, is an alien
Right.
this entity of spirits in the sky, or is it like an
He's a rock.
alien being? You know?
He's a rock and roll alien. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um. So that about that show, that Top of the Pop show, because like I was asking you about how when do you like what was your experience with this record? Like when did you first experience it? And you said maybe on TV, and I was thinking about this because this is actually historically that was the moment where like anyone that loves Bowie, that's when they saw him.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that performance. I probably saw something on American Bandstand or some like,
Yeah.
US like programming.
Right. Do you think it may have been around this era? Because I mean, like the whole Ziggy thing was only he only performed as Ziggy for a little less than 2 years.
It might have been a little bit later. And like I said, I did go back and play some catch up with Bowie because I think, I was probably like 18 or 19 when it first kind of came across for me. Maybe a little younger, maybe I was 17 or 18.
Hmm.
I honestly, I just don't remember. I
Sure,
don't know
sure.
what it was. Like it was, obviously I was a fan. I just don't know how I got there.
Right, right. Well, let me ask you this then, because so when approached with the idea of like doing this show and talking about a record that's important to you, why did you choose this record?
I love that there's so many songs on this record that I can relate to, that I
Yeah,
loved, um, and that I go back to. I think that's why I chose this one. Like I feel like it's that whole concept of going home again. Like I feel like I can put on these songs and they feel like they fit,
yeah,
you know? Like
right.
it's just a weird, like somehow they feel like they fit for me.
Hmm.
Um, there are other, I love other Bowie songs. I love Changes and I love Heroes and I love Fame. There's so many songs that we could talk about, but this particular album and that particular period of Bowie, like I said, I feel like I had to get a little bit into my years before I really appreciated it
Sure,
um,
sure.
for what it was. Like I might have brushed it off earlier on.
Yeah,
Um,
you
but
know, it's funny because that exactly happened to me. I
yeah.
remember like I bought this record by mistake.
Oh,
I
wow.
I was 18 years old. I was in high school. I was like senior in high school, and I was hanging out with this young dude, about like 2 years younger than me, who like didn't really know anything about music, but he was a drummer. And so I wanted to show off to him. I was just like, "Oh man, have you heard about Bowie?" Because I was thinking in my mind, Space Oddity. I had just heard it. And I was just like, "That song's amazing. We should go buy that record." So we go into friggin' Circuit City to go find CDs, and so we go into Circuit City, and then like I'm looking through the Bowie stuff, and I don't see Space Oddity, but I see this record. I'm just like, oh, Ziggy Stardust and Spider Swords. That must have Space Oddity on it, and because I didn't even know what the song was called, I was just like, I saw Starman, I saw
Oh,
Star. I was just like, oh, it's got to be on this record.
space.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh man, you got to hear this record. All right, let's go put this on in the car. And we go put it on the car, and I'm just like skipping through the songs. It's like, where is it? Where's that song? Like, it's not on this. And like, only afterwards I start listening to the record like alone, and I'm just like, oh, like okay, it's okay. It's a good record. I mean, it's not Space Oddity, but it's a good record, And I don't know when it was that it turned on me that I was just like, that's a goddamn piece of art. Like that's like an amazing album. But
Yeah.
now I'm 42, and so now it's just like definitely I'm like I can definitely appreciate it way more than I did when I was a teenager.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have to be sometimes emotionally mature enough to understand certain musics.
Sure.
I feel that about a lot of music that
Yeah.
maybe I just brushed away when I was younger. And now I'm like, wow, how did I not know that that was brilliance? Right.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was so into whatever at the time wasn't any, I don't call any music stupid, but now I listen back and I'm like, why did I like that again? I'm not really sure. I'm glad I am now. And for me, Bowie was a genius. Like I went to the exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum, and it was just, I cried.
Oh yeah.
At different points during it, and I wish that I had more time. Like you're timed on these visits, right? So you have to get out at a certain point, like in a 2-hour time period. I could have spent 3 or 4 hours going through all of it, just looking at his handwritten notebooks of lyrics, and I was like, that's what I do. Like I write stuff and I cross it out, I write new stuff, and I like it, just stuff like that made him more human, because he always seemed so alien,
right,
in a way.
Oh yeah, right. That's amazing. Yeah, I missed that exhibit, and I really wish I could have gone there.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Oh well, maybe they'll do something like it again in the future.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I'm sure they will when we get out of whatever next pandemic or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, because I was going to say, well, maybe for an anniversary, this is celebrating its 50th anniversary.
I did not know that.
This year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That didn't register for me.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah, so this came out when I was like 11.
Yeah. But, I didn't get into it until 98, so.
Well, you weren't born, so it doesn't matter.
I was not.
But that's what's great about music, and that's what's great about recording music, is that it's there, right? Mm-hmm. Like once it's recorded, it's there. It's prosperity. Prosperity.
Yes.
Not prosperity. Well, hopefully prosperity too.
For Bowie it was, yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully for all of us who want some more.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to keep recording. That for me, like I just always want to be able to do what I do. And
right.
It's really all I need in my life.
Yeah.
Keep writing.
I hear you. Nothing's better than that, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be fame and riches, but just keep doing it. Just being able to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Speaking of being able to keep doing it, the next song is It Ain't Easy.
That one always throws me.
It doesn't belong on the record.
It doesn't feel like it belongs on the record.
Not really. I mean, it's arguably the most misplaced song on this record.
Yeah, I mean, I just like whenever it comes on, I'm like, wait, am I still listening to the same? Like it's a
cover.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But it's still like I've heard the Three Dog Night version of it, but like it just sort of is like I don't know. It kind of sort of throws me.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't like it. I do like it. It just doesn't speak to me in the way that the other songs do. And I don't want to just sound mean about when I say like I don't like this, I don't like something.
It completely, what you're saying completely makes sense, because it does not belong on this record. I mean, like, it doesn't fit in with the theme. It has nothing to do with Ziggy. I mean, it's arguably just like a decent rock song, and they just kind of threw it in. I mean, they had other options, but I don't think there was any definitive reason why Bowie, like, he never made any kind of official statement like why they decided to choose this song, other from the other ones that they could have possibly used. But I don't know. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it because I never really connected to it. And again, like I don't want to sound mean.
No,
I'm sure it meant something at the time because they did it. They put it on this incredible recording, and somebody's probably going to come in and say that you don't know why they did that. It was very important to that piece of whole piece of whatever. But
I don't think that's true. I think if anyone wanted to make that argument, it's just because they want to argue.
Yeah. Also, music is really personal, right? Like,
sure.
I don't expect people to like what I do. I would like for people to like what I do because it would help to, emotionally boost me to continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't want to play a show where everybody's booing.
Of course not.
Walks out. Obviously I'm doing it because I also would like to have a positive response. So, I don't like to say anything negative, but I don't connect to that song.
That's quite all right. You know, you can not connect with a song. That's totally fine. Um,
Thanks.
so it ain't easy. It ain't easy being in a rock and roll band. That's for sure. Um, can you tell me about some of your hardest moments?
Oh boy. I was on tour. Uh, oh wow. Yeah, this was a hard one. We were on a tour with Iggy Pop as the headliner, actually. It was one of those big, like, 900 bands on a tour kind of summer
Oh, okay,
tour thing.
festival.
Yeah, festival tour. And I was in a band called Sexpod at that point. And 3 days into the tour, our drummer quits on stage at a sort of shoot off show in New York City. And then we get this other drummer and we drive down to Virginia and we play a show or North Carolina, or I don't know, somewhere. It's like a long drive and got to get this guy on stage with us. And, we're playing and, 2 weeks, like, and we carry on, like we're just really, we're troopers. We're going to get this going. And, we're doing what we have to do. And we're playing all these shows. And 2 weeks later, our van breaks down. We had to we miss a show, I think in Oklahoma City or something. Our van completely dies. But while we were broken down under an overpass, we were getting attacked by ticks as we were sitting outside. Yeah, it was literally it was like a God event. I was like, we're the raining frogs. Like, what is going to happen next? And if I didn't quit playing music then, I'm obviously in it for the long haul at this point. But yeah, we lost our van. Then that got left in Oklahoma. We ended up in a rental car with our gear on the trucks, the
Yeah.
tour trucks. We finished the tour out. I kudos to the Reverend Horton Heat, who at one point got us on their bus to get us to Texas
Oh,
so that we
wow.
could get a rental car.
Yeah.
They took us from Oklahoma to Texas so we could get a rental car. And then luckily there were only 3 people in the band. So we had our guitars in the trunks and, all of our amps were on the trucks. And we finished that tour. I don't know how we did it, but we did it.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, that's a rock and roll story.
Sure is. Wow. You were resilient.
Yes, we were.
And that's just one. Wow. Okay. You've had
Oh
many
yeah, there's so
many years
many.
of
I don't want
doing
to
with
bore
it.
you. Literally, I could tell you 1,000 stories, but that's just one.
Yeah. That's a good one. A good choice. All right.
Thanks.
So side 2 of the record. That's where we're at now. We start off with Lady Stardust.
You know what? This it's going to be a weird thing to say, but sometimes it's like very Elton John
Mm-hmm.
to me. This song, and I don't. Maybe it's the piano up top. Maybe the way he just kind of bursts
Yeah.
in the top of those lyrics.
Well, it's funny actually. Now that you said that, I remember specifically seeing Elton John mention how this was an influence to him.
Okay, well, I did not know that, and I never read that,
No, I
but
mean
that
it.
makes
It
sense.
makes sense. Yeah, no, I mean it totally makes sense. Like I said, this record changed a lot of people's minds. Kind of really
Yeah.
opened up some minds.
That's funny. That's great. That's good to know. Also, I'm not off base.
No, no. I mean, I think that's pretty accurate, pretty good observation that you made. Um, so now, as far as this song is concerned, I mean, it's a beautiful song. It's a balladesque. It's like certainly one of my favorites on this song, on this record. I like the sad music for the most part.
I mean, well, I write a lot of sad music, so I clearly am very connected to sad music myself. I
Me
think
too.
it's beautiful though. I think I'm going to use the word anthemic again because I feel like it's very it's very big and it's very showy. And
Right. Beautiful and prophetic, balladesque,
yeah,
which seems to be from the standpoint of a close observer of this alluring alien, which is somewhat androgynous. Also, because it just this song, listening to this song specifically and listening to the lyrics in it, kind of like led me to think about your former bandmate Genesis,
mm.
and I was wondering if like you felt like there was some kind of connection there. Like if you listen to this song, like can you see a connection between the way they describe Lady Stardust and Genesis?
I actually never made that connection, which is weird. And I feel like I really need to go back and listen to it again just
Oh, okay.
to like to get that. Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. That's funny. I don't know why that wasn't apparent to me before.
I
That's
don't know. I mean, it just kind of hit me. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I really don't know a lot about Genesis. Um, but just like the way the kind of lyrics describe like this animal grace on stage, it's this I forget the words now, but it's just like people stare at the makeup on his face, laugh at his long dark hair, his animal grace. The boy in the bright blue jeans jumped up on the stage, and ladies start, and then I forget where it goes after that.
where is it? Uh and Lady Stardust. What? I can't read.
Sang his songs of darkness and dismay.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But then it was like, then it was all right. The band was back together, right? Like that.
right.
So that's interesting. Now I want to listen to that song again. I'll listen to it when we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, immediate that wasn't where I went immediately with that
Okay.
song, but I can totally see it. I
Yeah.
guess I
Well,
was
can you tell me about Genesis? I mean, like, what were some of your experiences sharing stages with her? Right? Is her his pronoun?
yeah, her. I mean, him by birth, but her.
Right. Her.
We began calling Jen her in early 2000s. When after she got breast implants, and I can't remember the exact year that she did that, but she and Lady J, Jen's wife, prior to her passing, to her dropping their body, were cutting up their bodies to resemble one another because they were moving toward that combined androgyne, which is
Oh.
the third sex, basically. Like it's a combined male and female.
Okay.
And it was really about breaking sex and breaking gender and what could be. And um, yeah, it was something that, I obviously was completely open to, and I felt like really um, honored to be able to be a part of that journey with them and to be trusted as friends with in their community. And I got to watch like just how important Genesis as an artist and as a human being was to fans all over the world.
Hmm.
Because she did break, like she, with Robin Gristle, there was no real industrial music, right? They coined the term industrial music and then decided, no, I want to do this other thing. And, made this beautiful, almost poppy and psychedelic music at one point, and early on in psychic TV, and then ended up having to leave England because Scotland Yard was raiding their home because of the Temple of Psychic Individual, or Temple of Psychic Youth at that point. They thought Jen was a evil cult leader, which, I used to make fun of her all the time. I was like, you're the most evil man in Great Britain. And we would both giggle, and, it would be ridiculous because she was, yes, I've seen parts of her when she was angry, and, sometimes get like when people are angry, it's scary, right? Like
Sure.
I don't like being around people when they're angry, but mostly Jen was really all about wanting to spread love and yeah, just very open and loving human being.
Yeah.
Being around her was pretty incredible. She's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever known in my life, and it's a vast wealth of knowledge. Like she would read a book a day. Like she just knew so much. It's amazing to be able to spend time with her.
Yeah. Well, and so just in one more point, like, what about on stage? What about like that stage persona of theirs?
That's, I don't know, because I was on stage with her. So,
Okay.
I can't tell you, I can't answer that question honestly, because I've never seen the stage persona, because I've always been next to her with
Okay.
that persona.
Yeah.
And she lit up. It wasn't, but I with Genesis, and I think, with a lot of musicians, she was really the same off stage as she was on stage. Like, she was just a human being who chose to look the way that she wanted to look. She would tell me that after she got her breast implants, she finally felt like she was in her angelic body. I think it's really hard for people to not feel like they fit in their bodies. That I don't know what that would feel like, because I've always felt like I fit in my body. I never felt like, obviously, we're all like, oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to do this, or I wish I had this, or I wish my hair was straight, like whatever. Like, we all have that stupid little thing, but I never felt like I was misgendered. And I think that is I really applaud people who can figure out what it is that they want to be and can do it and be happy in their lives. And Genesis was one of those people. So I felt really proud of her a lot of the time too. It wasn't easy.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't.
To be her, and then to lose the love of her life, to lose Lady J in 2009 was tragic. We had just been on tour, and she passed maybe 2 weeks after we got home. And it was just, you were talking earlier, like, about mortality. Like, what if you lose your wife, or what if she loses you? Like, we lost her, and Jen had to grieve that loss, and it's not something you bounce back from easily.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that you could.
Just you become somebody. You're the same, but then you're different,
Right, you're missing something.
Yeah, that's the best way I could actually put it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I definitely have to get into the catalog more. I've listened to some of the Psychic TV stuff, and I've listened to some of the Robin Gristle stuff, but I find it very difficult for me. Some of it can be a little jarring.
Yeah, it can.
But the stuff you're on, like, because I did listen to the later kind of catalog, and the stuff that you performed on, and you're right. It's not as industrial. There is kind of more of like a kind of straightforward rock psychedelic thing happening. Yeah. So I just got to sit with it a little longer.
Or not.
No, I'm cool with it. I enjoy it. I have a lot of friends that listen to a lot of different types of music. Like, we were up in the car the other day. I was going up to Boston with my friend, and chose a bunch of CDs from his CD collection and picked out Boredoms. I was just like, I've heard of this band. I need to kind of hear them. He's just like, okay, well, this one's not their weirdest, but this one's good. I was just like, okay, yeah, let's try it out.
I don't know if I know that, but I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, weird, like, I guess you can kind of call it noise rock, avant-garde stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. I really don't know too much about them, but it's one of those things I gotta learn about.
Okay.
So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on to Star. So yeah, Star. Okay, so first of all, the second side of this record is a banger. Like, basically, minus Lady Stardust being a little ballady, just banger after banger on this side, really.
Yeah, and it doesn't make me want to cry.
Yes, much less potential for crying on this side. Though there is some of it. It still gets there a little bit. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of seen this song as Ziggy praying in a way for rock star success. And based on what I've read about and what I've shared with you about Bowie's career leading up to this point and his multiple failures, I'd say this was an open declaration for stardom. From what I've read about Bowie and his manager at the time, Tony DeFries, I believe his name was, this is what they were gunning for. They were like, success. We need to get you to become the next Elvis Presley. And that's why they went to RCA Records. Tony DeFries was notorious for being like a just ruthless manager, and just like, insisted on getting his way. He actually at one point gave David Bowie like some kind of like ledger, just saying, you have $1 million. Like, you have $1 million. You're now a millionaire. And this is before he was successful. And so it's kind of like that willing him success. Like, it's just like, you are a millionaire now, so act like a millionaire. And they hired him bodyguards, and he had all like the best things. Like, he would travel in a limo everywhere. He willed his success.
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah, it was just like,
Have I read that?
it's like that Jim Carrey writing himself $1 million check thing. It was just like,
I mean, I think that's pretty incredible. I believe in that power of positivity and like projecting like the positive truths for yourself.
sure.
Doesn't always work for me, but but in a lot of ways it has too. So
Yeah. So thinking about before you started actively making music, what was your perception of rock stardom, and did you want it?
wow. No, I don't know that I did. I don't know that I thought that this was gonna be what I was doing when I was that young. Like I was always writing, even I think even like as a 12 or 13-year-old, I was always writing something in my head, music, but I never really knew that it was something I could do. I mean, when you think of where I grew up, like it was just Hoboken at that time was really a blue collar town. We had a Maxwell House coffee factory. The whole city smelled like coffee. Like everybody's, people were going to work. My dad was a school teacher. Like it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't something that I really thought about. And also I have to say, like, there weren't a lot of women to look up. Like, yes, amazing. There was Grace Slick and there was Hart back in those days. And, one or two others that it's slipping my mind right now, but Janis Joplin. But it didn't feel as accessible to me as it did to guys until I got to be like 19 or 20. And then I just sort of, maybe it was late for me to mature into, but once I realized that I wanted to really, maybe you don't choose to be a musician, maybe it chooses you. And so maybe I didn't really think about being famous. I just
You just had fun playing music.
I just am. It is what I am. Right? Like I am who I am.
Right.
Now, yeah. I mean, I don't imagine that I would become a rock and roll star now, but like we were saying earlier, I would love for somebody to put out the next record so that I don't have to dig so deep into pockets and, work. So like I take extra jobs so that I can make the kind of, enough money to go into the studio, and then you have no money again. You have to start all over.
Right.
It'd be nicer if it didn't have to be that. Like, it's been years since I've had a record deal, right?
Right. Well, I mean, that's always a possibility,
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm not writing it out. I mean, where's my $1 million check? I'm gonna write it. You gotta
write it yourself. Yeah.
Hiring my bodyguards tomorrow.
It's that perception. It's that like fake it till you make it. Really, I mean, it's very strange how that can be, because it's like it's like perception is everything. Like you can be essentially like a nobody, right? But if and let's just put this in today's context. Okay, so now we have computers, we have the internet, we have social medias. People have the ability to make their lives seem bigger than they are. And if you can make your life bigger than it is, than what it really is to the perception of an audience, then you potentially have the ability to be that person.
Right.
You fool everybody into thinking like, I am this big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that social media makes it easier for people to, you don't have to show your real life, right? You just show the best parts.
Yeah.
If I showed the best parts of my life, like, wow, blow everybody away,
Right. You just share all the stories about being on tour with Iggy Pop and riding around with Red Horn Heat. You're awesome. You're a rock star. You're already a rock star.
Exactly. Exactly. I was on tour with Pink once too. So I mean, like I've definitely done my share of being on the road and doing amazing things. And it's been not such a bad life, really. I mean, and then there's been tragedy.
Of course.
But I think that's the kind of thing that really, I wouldn't write the songs that I write right now if I hadn't lived the life that I've lived, right? So
Right. Yeah, it's all leading up to a point. You know, it's all everything has kind of happens for a reason.
For sure.
All right. Well, the next song is "Hang On to Yourself."
Yeah, that one just kicks right in.
Oh yeah.
And then like I know there's that, isn't that the one where there's like a weird, like between the verses, there's like he takes this like weird breath where there's like air and silence, and then it just jumps into the next lyric. I think that's the one.
Maybe, yeah. I can't remember too well, but it's definitely one of the most exciting songs. I mean, actually don't really even have anything about this song, except that this is the epitome of rock and roll excess, right?
I mean, I love the bass. I love the bass on this song. Like it's
Yeah,
so, you know,
it's fun.
like it's so much fun, right? Like it's so it's you know, bluesy and poppy and rock and jumpy, and it makes you want to dance, and you
Right,
know,
super
it's,
exciting.
yeah, super
and
exciting.
and like the content of the lyrics of this, I mean, like if we're thinking about this like as the theme of, like, you know, the rise and the fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, this is the peak Ziggy, where they're like debaucherous rock and roll excess. Like, I mean, they are, you know, praying to the light machine, all that stuff. There's like the talking about like the kind of like what I imagine would be groupies. You know, there's like the I don't have the lyrics of this in front of me, but
Well, she's a tongue twisting storm. She'll come to the show tonight, praying like the light machine. I mean,
yeah,
you know, and then the chorus, so come on, we really got a good thing going. Like it's, you know,
yeah,
it's obviously a party.
yeah, yeah.
Some kind of a party going on there.
This is full tilt at this point.
Yeah, and it only gets, you know, from here on out, it's just like mind blowing to me.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, so then there's the next song, Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
Now, so kind of what we were just talking about with Hang On to Yourself kind of being the peak of excess. Um, Oddly enough, like, this is the title track of the record, if that's what you want to call it. You know, I mean, it's essentially about the character of Ziggy. Um, but essentially the song is documenting the fall of Ziggy and the Spiders of Mars at this point. You know, like, this
Yeah.
song is the decline.
Right. But but is it, you know, because of his ego, right? Like he's making love with his ego, so he sucked up into his mind. Like, is that like, was it just like a self-destructive
Actually,
moment,
I
right?
think it's exactly that, because with some of the research that I did, you know, I mean, some of the influences for the character of Ziggy came from Iggy Pop, Lou Reed, Vince Taylor, just to name a few. And I think the Vince Taylor one was the most specific one. Lou Reed and Iggy Pop both at that time, like in 71, 72, were very deep into drug use and like
Yeah.
just falling apart. Like, they
Yeah.
just their careers were literally slipping away from them. Um, and Vince Taylor, I don't know if you're familiar with Vince Taylor.
I'm not very familiar with Vince
Yeah, I
Taylor.
wasn't either. He had a actually really successful career in Europe. Um,
Okay.
and
That makes sense.
he had like one major hit song, which I can't remember for the life of me right now. But essentially, Bowie met this guy at a point where he was just literally like schizophrenic almost. Like,
Oh,
he was
okay.
really hard up, just kind of not making any sense. He really seemed far gone, and he died shortly after. So, you
Okay.
know, so some of the influence of these guys on Bowie to create this character of Ziggy, I mean, that's essentially what he wanted to encapsulate, was that, you know, it is possible that even if you are a rock superstar, that you can fall from grace and fall uh, very hard,
Right.
potentially lose everything that you've worked for. So he
Right.
was always very conscious of that. Like, he always was very conscious to not lose sight of his success, and you know, worked it to his benefit at all
I mean,
times.
he did his share of,
Oh, he
you know,
partied for sure.
yeah. No, he did his share, but
but
yeah,
but
I
he
guess
never fell
he
off, you
didn't,
know. Yeah, he
yeah,
never.
he didn't. You're right. Not in that way.
No.
Use it creatively, I would
So
say.
yeah. So if there's one thing, because considering we were talking about the influences on Bowie to create Ziggy. If there's one thing you could say you took from an influence, like from an artist as an influence, what would you say it would be?
Oof. That I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, I actually feel like I've been influenced by so many
Sure.
artists, right? So I don't know what I would have taken. Like I definitely think that like maybe I've learned some bass, like a Bootsy Collins kind of bass playing style at some points in my life. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I've taken from that James Brown era. I know that like I was I've been very influenced by some of the 80s music like Gang of Four and bands like the Bush Tetras I've mentioned earlier. They're a New York band that I used to love. They're still playing actually. But as a bass player, I definitely feel like I've been influenced by other bass players. I don't know that I've really taken directly anything that
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word. I definitely have been influenced.
Sure. I mean,
Maybe I don't
everyone has.
understand quite the
Everyone is to a
question.
degree. Well, I didn't know if there's anything specific. I mean, like, because Bowie was like being very specific about these things. Like, so the influences for Ziggy was there's a whole list of them, but just to name a few was Iggy Pop, Lou Reed, Vince Taylor, the legendary Stardust Cowboy, hence the name Ziggy Stardust. Stanley Kubrick and some of his movies, 2001 and A Clockwork Orange, were massive
Okay.
influences. Andy Warhol's theatrical thing called Pork. You remember that from
I
back in the
did.
70s?
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but I
Okay.
definitely have done a lot of. I've watched a bunch of Andy Warhol
Okay, yeah.
movies, but I don't remember that one. It's funny.
Yeah, well, it was like a off Broadway play production that they
Yeah.
were doing, and it actually did tour in the UK very, very briefly. But like,
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
it was insane from what I hear. So so just things like that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things that influence you to create what you create, but I didn't know if there was like something that sticks out in your mind.
Not really for me. I mean, I think, I don't, I, at this point in my life, I don't really write toward anything. I just write what's sort of coming out. And maybe that would change. Maybe there is something that'll inspire me to write, like, that I will directly write because I saw something that made me feel like I needed to do that.
Sure.
I think for me, I took all of the music that surrounded me in my whole life and just sort of worked with it. When
Right.
I started out, I played with a pick and then I taught myself how to sort of slap. And then I decided that I would play with fingers. And, now I can pretty much play whatever way I want to. And it really just depends on what song I'm playing. Right.
Right.
Um,
What
for,
field are you trying to go for?
yeah, like, is it, if it's going to be like a loud hard rock song and like a Ramones, like, I'm going to play with a pick, but if it's something a little bit softer, I'm gonna play with my fingers because I have more, and I
Mm-hmm.
can just sort of
It's a
play
different
around
feel,
the yeah, and you can
because
play around
you
the
can be more muted.
softer,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah, you have a
It's
little
not
more
so much of
control
an
of it.
attack.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, with that being said, we should move on to the next song, which is Suffragette City.
What do you say about that song? Like, that's a masterpiece.
It is. I mean, and it's just such a banger, like rock song. Um, this song oozes sex. It really does.
Well, I mean, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, yeah, it absolutely oozes sex. It always makes me smile though.
Mm.
Like, it just does. There's something about this song that no matter how many times have I heard this song in my lifetime, and I still don't hate hearing it. Like, you'll hear songs over and over in your life, and you're, oh,
Sure.
I'm so sick of this song. I've never gotten sick of hearing this song ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's so weird.
it just it like invokes so much good stuff. I mean, like debaucherous to a degree, sure, but that's also fun too to kind of think about or look back on. I mean, But okay, so wait, so I want to analyze this song a little bit, and I want you to
Okay.
help. I need you to help me out here. Okay,
All right. I'm
don't get.
in. Let's go. I'm
All right.
jumping in.
So so though the definition of suffragette is a woman seeking the right to vote through organized protest,
Yes.
in the early 20th century, this was used as an insult and implied a nasty woman.
Yes. Because women weren't supposed to have rights
Right.
in those days. Supposed to be in the kitchen making
Right.
babies.
In the kitchen? Well, that takes a little bit of talent. Yeah, but I mean, I get it, and that's, and obviously we've moved on from there. But so based on the context of the lyrics,
Or have we?
yeah,
Sorry.
a little bit, not too much, unfortunately, not enough, just a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit,
yeah. Yeah.
just inching with all these things that we need to change in our world. But so based on the context of the lyrics, I think this is where Ziggy is at his most debauched and knee deep in groupies and the overindulgent sex life of rock superstardom. This is your choice to be as revealing or not as you care, but this brings up something that's very kind of like something that's I've always thought about as far as like the rock world is concerned, and like playing in bands and so forth. Because I've done some small independent touring in my very limited time, and I've had very limited experience with like road flings, but I would like to know what the female perspective of that situation is like as a performer.
It's there.
Yeah, well, because I mean, I've kind of heard from other women where it's just like it's difficult, like how different or how hard is it for a woman compared to a man?
You know, I think it's I think that's everybody's personal experience.
Mm,
I a lot of, I definitely have been in relationships, a lot of tours, and then I had a lot of tours where I wasn't. Um, it exists, and it
mm-hmm.
existed for me. Like I could totally have had a fling here and there. I'm not saying I did, saying could have,
Right.
maybe did. Who knows? Yeah, no, I mean, like I think that I'm not going to say it's the same for women
Mm-hmm.
and men, but I don't really know because I'm not a guy. Like I'm not, for me, I need, even if it's like it's not as, it's sexual, but I guess it's not the same kind of, we're very different
Right.
as a species, right? So what I find sexy in a man, um, you know, maybe is a little bit more intimate and not just like, I need a girl to screw tonight with, I'm trying
Right.
to be somewhat G-rated here, but but yeah, like, I definitely have been around guys who, will hook up with two or three women and in the
Right.
night, but like, it's like, was not for me
Right. Right.
personally.
But so with that
But
being said, I mean, like, what is that experience like as a witness to these things? I mean, like, because like you're a witness as a woman, a performer, to these other guys that are gonna go ahead and hook up with these random women, which well, let's just call them groupies. You
yes,
know,
okay.
um,
Band-aids.
band-aids, yeah. I mean, like, was that a difficult position for you to be in, being in the band and then having to deal with these guys going off and hooking up randomly?
No, I don't really care what anybody does in that, like, as long as everybody's consenting,
Right.
it doesn't bother me in any way. Like I'm all for people being sexual, and I can be very sexual as well. Like I love sex. Sex is amazing. Um, especially when it's good. Uh,
Right.
no, really. I
No, I
mean,
agree
sorry,
with you. I
but like,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, like, um, yeah, I don't think it ever bothered me. And I think that, even like if, like for groupies, if that is where you're being fulfilled and that makes you feel like, your best self, then like go for it. I
Hmm.
really don't, I don't really care. Like with Genesis, that it was never a thing for her. Like it was never a big she never really wanted that. Like she wanted an intimate relationship with somebody. She didn't want to have like a one night stand. Whereas some of the guys were totally cool with that. I could be totally cool with that from time to time.
Sure. Because it's like fulfilling a need, I mean, like sometimes you just, let's say you're on the road for a few weeks at a time, right? And you're like kind of feeling a little lonely, kind of feeling a little, little horny.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
if someone's going to come and approach me, sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard on a tour, but like for us, it was hard on a tour bus when we were touring on buses. But when we started doing like, after Lady J died and Jen was a little bit older, also we were flying and then, being picked up, and we would usually have a hotel. So then obviously it's easier if you have a hotel to, hang out with people.
Right.
Sort of makes it nicer. Yeah. Okay. The old wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Tale as old as time.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's move on.
I love that song. Sorry.
I love it too. I really, really do. I mean, it's such a great song. And then unfortunately leading into the last song, Rock and Roll Suicide.
Oh, this one kills me.
That's all you really need there, and I'm already crying. I'm already gonna
No, and then at the end, like the whole "you're wonderful,
right.
You're not alone, let's turn on and be, you're not alone, give me your hands, like you're wonderful." Just it's just that one is it's pretty intense.
It's a lot to take in.
And I think that's why I also love this song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this song has kind of like grown on me as far as like, it's always been like kind of this emotional connection that I've had with it, just because it's just so, overwhelmingly powerful. But then, growing up, like I grew up in the 90s, so like, I saw Kurt Cobain kill himself.
Yeah.
And then there's all these other rock and roll suicides that have happened. I mean, Chris Cornell, what's his name?
That's when
Yeah, there's all these people that have gone.
It's Lane Staley and Chris Cornell and
I mean, that wasn't so much a suicide. Lane Staley, I guess it was overdose, right? Which kind of the same, I guess.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's sad and it's tragic in that regard when we think about those things. I mean, the feel of the song itself, regardless of that connotation, is just so moving anyway.
Yeah. No, it's the chord progressions I think are beautiful on this song as well. Like it's just, it's not overly flowery, but yet there's like it blooms in a beautiful way, I think, as well. And I mean, I'm just looking at some of the lyrics right now. It's like, don't let the milk floats ride your mind, so natural, religiously unkind. It's like, wow. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty intense. I mean, and then, it goes back to like what I was saying earlier on, I think is like, where was David Bowie in his psyche when he was writing all of this? Like he has to have lived these emotions to be able to write these emotions. Like, can you just turn that on? I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't really speak for him, but based on the research that I did, I think that much like an actor, he really put himself into the mindset of the character, and that's why he created these characters that he sang through.
Right.
Like I know that I saw him in an interview say that he found it easier to be able to write for a character than for himself. So that might have something to do with it.
I was going to say that in itself is pretty telling, though, I think.
Well, he was very shy, and so like he didn't want to expose himself, but to expose the kind of secrets and the traumas character of others. Yeah, right. was a lot easier. It was a good way to hide, really. All right, so Bowie retired Ziggy Stardust during a live concert on the 3rd of July, 1973, at London's Hammersmith Odeon in front of 3,500 fans. 3,500. Can you imagine that? It's like, really? That's all. That was the peak.
It's amazing, right?
I would have assumed that there was going to be so many. I thought it was assumed at least 10,000.
I mean, I think I've actually played there, so that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Wow.
Or, Hammersmith, that makes no sense to me.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that capacity doesn't sound right, but I guess hey, that's what I found. So just before the final song of the concert, which was "Rock and Roll Suicide," Bowie announced, of all the shows on this tour, this particular show will remain with us the longest because not only is it the last show of our tour, but it's the last show we'll ever do. Which was true. He retired Ziggy after that night. He never played a Ziggy after that.
Well, I did read somewhere that it was because he felt like people were like, you know, confusing him with the character, and
Yeah.
that David Bowie was becoming Ziggy, and that's not really what he wanted to be in his career.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what did he move on to next? Was it Aladdin?
No,
It was after that. It was after
Oh
Ziggy.
wait, yeah, Aladdin Sane was after this
It
album.
was.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Which is
Which
weird.
again is sort of a character again, though, right?
And
Like
it's still
in
kind
a
of
weird
Ziggy.
way. Yeah.
I read that it was essentially, Ziggy Comes to America. I mean,
Oh, that's funny.
most of the music was written during the Ziggy tour, and then
Uh,
even the artwork, the cover art. I mean, he still looks like Ziggy. He still has the Ziggy look to him, and that
that's
actually
yeah.
permeates through the next three records. It permeates through Pinups and Diamond Dogs. So I don't know, but I mean, but he didn't perform as Ziggy, I guess, supposedly after that.
Right.
Um, so with this as an example, if we want to avoid the depressing route and take more of a lighthearted approach, this could be this could be seen as a career suicide with the retiring of the Ziggy character. Now you've already kind of touched on this, but I was going to ask you if you could ever see yourself retiring from music.
I don't know. I thought I was at one point, when I was like 40, I was like, that's it, I'm done. And then I wasn't done. And that was around the time that I started playing with Psychic TV.
Oh,
And it was the
yeah.
best not retiring gift ever. At this point, no, because I don't, I might not play out, I might not tour in 10 years, but I don't think that I'll stop writing music because I don't know that my brain will allow that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an art. I mean, if you're an artist, which you obviously are, it's hard to kind of walk away from that and just kind of
Yeah, I don't know how to
stop
shut.
doing it.
Yeah, I don't know how to shut it off. What does it mean to not be a musician? Like, I'm always going to have a guitar around. I'm always going to pick it up and start playing stuff. Like, I'm going to be that annoying person, right? Like, I mean, I don't usually do it in front of people, but I'll get home from a night out with friends and I'll grab my guitar and I'll start to play stuff. And it makes me happy. It's sort of, it's in some ways I feel like it's my therapy, right?
Mm.
I don't have to let everybody else hear it, but I still need to do it for myself.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, okay, so if you were or had to, how would you go out?
Like, die?
No, retire.
Like, die.
Oh, that's what would have to happen. Okay.
Yeah, what is retiring? I've told people in the past, like, how do everything that I do in my life, except for, I have a part-time job from, a couple of days a week, but other than that, everything I do in my life is who I am. Like I'm an artist. I make jewelry. Also, I have a small jewelry web shop, where I make everything with my hands, and it's all sterling silver or gold. And so that's my creative artistic side. And then I play and I write music. And so what am I gonna like? That is who I am. So how do you retire from that?
Mm.
You can't retire from who you are.
Right. Yeah.
Everything I do is a part of who I am. So yeah, I'm not retiring. Unless I break my hands, God, please don't ever.
Well,
I'm never gonna break my hands.
Those will heal anyway. I mean, that's not a retirement.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't plan on retiring. I mean, I've being on the road with Genesis for I don't know 17 years. I've seen other older musicians, people in their 70s and even in their 80s, just still at it, still on, shorter tours, but still out there playing. And, and look at Willie Nelson. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, what do you do? Like, yeah, well, he could retire, but it's like, this is what we do, right? This, as musicians, this is what we do. I'm not saying I'm going to be on a giant tour or anything, but I'm certainly still going to pick up and play stuff in my house.
Right. Well, so if a tour were proposed to you, would you do it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially with a new
I
record
mean,
coming out and all.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Depending on, routing and if it makes sense financially. Yeah, of course.
Right.
Um, yeah, I would love it. I actually like being on the road. I'm one of those people who I really enjoy playing. And I love that, like, when you're in a band with people and you get into the like first week and that second week, you just get so good.
Oh
Like
yeah.
everybody gets so good. And by that third week, you guys are a machine and you're unstoppable, right? Like, and by the fourth week or the fifth week, then you have to come home. Like, it was so good. But I love that. And yeah, it can be tiring and exhausting, and you get cranky and whatever. Like there's all the stuff that people always feel like, oh, it's so glamorous, and you've been this place and that place. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I saw the inside of a dressing room, and I sat
Yeah.
and waited for a sound check for 3 hours today, and the guys were late and the equipment didn't show up, and I was hungry because I hadn't eaten since the night before. Like,
Right.
there's that side of it too. But yeah, I wouldn't
Anyone who says
trade
it's
it.
glamorous has never gone on tour.
Well, yeah, but how many people have gone on tour? I mean,
Right.
yeah, there are a
Exactly.
lot of musicians, but how many people get to do that? Like,
Yeah, realistically, yeah, not many. I don't think. Even me, I mean,
yeah,
just limited, very very limited. I mean, you know, nothing. Certainly nothing ever supported. It was all DIY and stuff like that, and that's kind of the worst. I
yeah.
mean, that's just like looking for a floor to sleep on. Hey, anyone got a
Oh,
floor?
done all that too. I mean, we would go out like with one of my first bands, and we were three women in our 20s, like
hmm
strangers. Like, hey, you have a floor we can crash on? Like, I think about that now, and I'm like, we were nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm not dead. I really
Well,
don't.
luckily you're not.
Yeah, yeah,
That just whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
yeah. That's for sure.
Mm. So, again, about Of Stars. So you have a new record coming out on the 23rd.
Yes,
Um, so
of
that's that.
April.
That'll be the digital release because the vinyl we don't know when it's going to show up, but there will be pre-orders. I assume, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do pre-order. I'm actually gonna get that's on my list for this week, is to get in touch with the printing press to see when that when I can actually have, like, a image of the packaging so I can get pre-sales going. I mean,
Right.
the goal would have been to have had it, you know, to be able to do pre-sales like on the 23rd as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Right. Right.
hopefully we'll have more. I'll have more news soon.
Okay.
I don't have it today.
That's fine. Fine. So as of right now, there are two singles that are available pretty much everywhere on all digital formats.
Yeah.
So everyone can kind of listen to those and favorite them and kind of like put them into their library so that when it releases, they'll get to hear everything. So I mean, so
Yeah.
what is the plan? I mean, I know you have a show on the 24th, which is essentially like
Yeah.
a listening release, right?
Yeah. Well, it's, we're going to play, Pony's going to play solo, and I'm going to do some solo stuff with a couple of guys that I was playing with. I had a solo release in 2014 called Sticks and Bones.
I heard it.
So I'm going to do a few songs from that. And then Pony and I are just going to do acoustic. We'll probably play all 5 songs
Yeah.
from the recording. That's what we were rehearsing today. It was so weird because we haven't been playing and we've heard them non-acoustically now a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back and sort of strip it down again, it was fun.
That's
Yeah,
always the greatest form, really. I mean, that's a testament to a good song too, right? Is it that if you can strip it down to its bare essential and have it still
yeah,
resonate, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, so I'm very excited about that. And then we do have another show booked in Brooklyn, at Pioneer Works, Red Hook's in Red Hook. And that is during there's a Genesis Peerage, and Lady J Briar Peerage art show called We Are But One. So there's a performance space within the gallery, and we're going to perform there as well, along with some other members of Psychic TV are going to join us, and we'll do a little bit of a tribute to Genesis, which makes sense because of the situation we're going to be in. So,
right.
And there we'll be performing more as a full band, which we haven't really nailed down with the full band. I mean, for that, yes, but like if we were to tour, I'm not sure exactly what our full band would be yet.
Right.
Still working on it.
Speaking of which, so Of Stars, spelled O-V, Stars, what is the connection of Stars to like or from Psychic TV? Because I feel like
Genesis used to use of OV instead of OF. So I just thought it was a nod to Jen, just a little.
Oh, okay.
Like my little tribute. We were very, very, very close friends, so it's the tribute, my little private tribute, which is now very public.
Well, I mean that's beautiful. I mean, you know, being in a band with anybody is typically, well, as long as it was a good relationship in the band, it's always like a very intimate relationship to have with somebody. You know, it's the next thing to, you know, marriage or something like that. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very touching. It's very nice to know that you're doing that.
Thanks.
I wanted to let you go. I didn't want to hold you up too long, but I just wanted you to know that it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I thank you for choosing this record and letting me get into it.
Yeah, thanks. You too. I actually haven't listened to it fully in a really long time, and it's been really fun for me to do that.
Good, great. I'm glad that you had some joy out of this.
Yeah, it's really great.
It's a pretty great listen. I mean, you kind of can't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us do this.
Absolutely. And so best of luck with the new record. It sounds great from what I've been able to hear so far, and I'm looking forward to it coming out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Vinyl Envision is a Psychic Static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.